Hi, we are on. Sorry about that. Yeah, if you can, Kathy, that'd be great. It was supposed to be Kara, but she's running late. Okay. Sorry, welcome to the regularly scheduled Board of Education meeting on Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. We're calling the meeting to order at 5:31. If you can please call the roll.
Mrs. Arvanitis,
Here.
Mrs. Assif,
Here.
Mrs. Caforio, Mr. Collins, Dr. Henry,
Here.
Mrs. Hassler,
Here.
and Mrs. Troutman.
Four board members present, 3 absent. Can I have a motion to go into closed session? And I'll make that motion. I move that the Board of Education go into closed session at 5:32 PM for the following: the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity, 5 ILCS 120/2C1, and collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, 5 ILCS 12/2C2, and discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act, whether for purposes of approval by the body of the minutes or semi-annual review of the minutes as mandated by Section 2.06, 5 ILCS 12-2. C21.
I'll second.
Thanks. Motion made by me, second by Ms. Hassler. Please call the vote.
Mrs. Arvanitis,
Yes.
Mrs. Hassler,
Yes.
Mrs. Assif,
Yes.
Dr. Henry,
Yes.
and Mr. Collins.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent. Motion passes. Board moves into closed session. Welcome to the Board of Education meeting on Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. The board has been in closed session for items listed on the agenda since 5:30. We have 6 board members present and 1 absent. At this time, I ask that we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, tonight we're going to start off our meeting with our spotlights and recognition. And first up, we have Conrad Fisher.
Thank you, thank you. Good evening, esteemed board members, Superintendent Dr. Keisha Campbell, cabinet members, and the dedicated members of our Elmhurst Community Unit School District 205, both present in this room and joining us online. I extend a warm welcome to each one of you. My name is Dr. Efraín Martinez, and I stand before you today as the proud representative of the Panthers at Conrad Fisher Elementary School. And I must express how incredibly joyful these past 5 months have been for me to lead this remarkable school as its principal. Every morning, I have the privilege to personally greet our exceptional faculty and staff, much like the best coaches do. It is through these genuine and affective professional relationships that we foster an environment where significant learning can genuinely take place. Day in and day out, I witness our faculty and staff unwavering dedication and intelligence as they tirelessly serve our diverse student body. Our students represent the richness of our school community, with some excelling in more rigorous academic pursuits, while others are on their journey of learning a language as a new member of our country. Yet, I see the commitment of our educators to improve by at least 1% every day, demonstrating their passion for the growth of every student. I also want to express my gratitude for the exceptional efforts of our administrative assistants and parent liaison who, with tireless empathy, worked to connect our families with the system for report card pickup and many more venues. There is something truly special about being an educator at Conrad Fisher. We believe that when we do good things happen. I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to every cabinet member at the entire District 205 and all the staff for embracing and welcoming me with open arms. A special acknowledgement goes to Katie Lyons, a guiding light through all my adventures at Conrad Fisher. And to Garrett Garcia for his invaluable assistance in developing the wonderful video you're about to watch. All of this is evidence that when we do good things, indeed, good things happen. Finally, I want to express my sincere appreciation for the opportunity to lead in District 205 and specifically at Conrad Fisher. How fortunate I am to work with such extraordinary educators, parents, and other staff members who embody the belief that doing good things leads to the manifestation of good things. Thank you for your unwavering support and trust in our shared mission of fostering excellence by educating, engaging, and empowering our students. Thank you very much.
Welcome to Conrad Fisher Elementary, a place where the spirit of growth and positivity thrives. Here we believe in the power of incremental progress, in the relentless pursuit of improvement, and in the joy of learning. When you do good things happen. Our teachers embody the concept of 1% daily improvements. They nurture a mindset that focuses on what's under our control, emphasizing the things we can do rather than what we can't. They inspire our students to tackle challenges with determination and a growth mindset. At Conrad Fisher, we instill the ROAR principles.
R, respectful. O, organized. A, accountable. R, reflective.
These principles aren't just for school. They set our students up for life, guiding them to become responsible citizens and compassionate individuals ready to take on the world. Our school community unites to foster a culture of learning. With programs like Wit and Wisdom, foundations, and resources such as ST Math, our students embrace diverse learning experiences. The dual language program integrates seamlessly with the monolingual program, promoting inclusivity and understanding among our students. Conrad Fisher provides opportunities for students to expand their learning horizons, nurturing creativity and imagination. From EL and reading specialists to engaging after-school clubs like Art Club and Lego Club, our school ensures a well-rounded educational experience. We've diligently worked on enhancing parental engagement. Through the power of social media and tech tools like Parent Square and Seesaw, we've strengthened communication with the PTA and DPAC, ensuring a collaborative partnership in our students' educational journey. The renovations in District 205 have revitalized our spirit of continuous improvement. At Conrad Fisher, we believe that when we do good things happen. It's through our collective commitment to growth, positivity, and education that we continue to thrive and make a difference. Conrad Fisher Elementary is a school where good things happen. It's a school where teachers are positive, students are challenged, and parents are engaged. When you do good things happen. That's the Conrad Fisher way. When we create a culture of positivity, respect, and hard work, everyone can succeed. We encourage our students to be roaring citizens, and we celebrate their accomplishments along the way. Together, we can make a difference in the world. Thank you for being a part of the Conrad Fisher Elementary community, and always remember, when you do good things happen.
Thank you. I love the motto, when we do good things happen, and how inspiring it can be for our students who are and thank you to you and your team for all the work that you do with our children who are in a really unique program and environment. But we know that they're afforded wonderful opportunities that, how do I say this, that enhance their schooling experience. So thank you for building that community of kindness and warmth while driving kids to try to do the best they can. Thank you all very much for your presentation today. Okay, with that, we will move to, here we go, Paraprofessionals and School-Related Personnel Appreciation Day. So PSRP Appreciation Day. And Kara, would you like to say a few words?
So I'm really honored tonight on behalf of the board to recognize and honor our paraprofessionals and our school-related personnel that work in our buildings. You know, it's hard to nail down exactly the one job they do because they do so many jobs. Most importantly, they're there for our students, many times for our most vulnerable students. And not only do they care, they quietly support them and help them grow. Some of them take calls, 10 to 6 students, even though they're not nurses. They organize, they answer questions, they take calls from parents, sometimes have to hug a parent and help them when something has, gone wrong with their student. And, it is a job that isn't always recognized, and so we want to make sure that all of our paraprofessionals know how much the Board of Education appreciates the work they do and how they show up for our kids and our staff and our families every day as a caring group of souls who bring both light and joy to all that they support, all who they support. So thank you, and I hope you know how much you are appreciated.
And Kara's words, of course, from the entire board, thank you for all your work. We also wanted to acknowledge that the city of Elmhurst also granted a proclamation to our PSRP employees, thanking them for their work, not just for our schools, but in our community and with our families. So thank you very much, and we hope you have a great week.
So the next item on the agenda is Board Member Appreciation Day. So this is when all of the board members have the opportunity to give me a little eye contact. So Wednesday, November 15th, is School Board Appreciation Day. And I wanted to take a moment tonight to personally thank each and every one of you for your dedication to the District 205 community. I always refer to you, both publicly and privately, as my board team, because we are a team. And I'm grateful to each of our team members for your individual as well as your collective contributions. So most of our community members see you at board meetings, at various committee meetings. But what many of our community members don't see are the countless hours you spend preparing for those meetings, reading through board packet materials, giving of your time to attend school tours, special events, and participation in other organizations such as Lind and SACIT, just to name a couple, all voluntarily. Your impact and your value to our community is unmeasurable. You exemplify so many of our district's core values, like communicating effectively, collaborating, problem solving, contributing meaningfully to your community, affirming diverse perspectives, because we know in Elmhurst we have diverse perspectives, demonstrating empathy and practicing self-reflection, just to name a few. You do all of this, board team, so sacrificially and are always centered on students. As superintendent, I have gained such a deeper appreciation and understanding of community service and what it truly means to serve your community by watching each and every one of you. Thank you. Thank you for governing in excellence. Thank you for making tough decisions. Thank you, despite popularity, remaining student-centered. And thank you for your commitment to District 205. On behalf of all of our staff, the cabinet, our entire school community, we honor you, and we remain so deeply grateful for all you do. And in true D205 fashion, we do have a video, but we're not going to share that now. We're going to hold that until our superintendent communication portion at the end. Ms. Kathy is passing out a certificate, again, just to elevate our deepest appreciation. Thank you.
Who's in the video? I'm just kidding. Who's in the video? Yeah, I was just joking.
Me.
Okay, well, thank you for your kind words, Dr. Campbell. It's an honor and to serve our community and to work with you and your team in the interest of what's best for our kids and our community. We will move on to item 5 on the agenda, which is public comments. The public comment section of the board meeting provides an opportunity for community members to share information and perspectives with the Board of Education. And while the board does not respond during public comment, we are listening and thoughtfully considering the messages being shared. Each of us have high expectations for our community and ask that public comments are respectful and do not mention any individuals by name. The way in which we publicly engage when sharing differing perspectives is an opportunity to model healthy and respectful discourse for our students and greater community, while creating an environment of collaboration and partnership. There will be 30 minutes allocated for public comments, with up to 3 minutes per public comment speaker concerning items on this agenda. Actually, Ms. Caporio will give a reminder when you have 30 seconds left. Let's begin with our first speaker.
Okay, Tom Chavez.
Hi, good evening. Regardless of your political stripes, one thing we should expect from our superintendent, administration, and our school board is transparency and honesty. Despite what you hear from the district marketing department, at its core, D205 is still vastly underperforming. The Illinois report card data was released to the public at the end of October. Here are just a few things that weren't mentioned at the board meeting in October in the state of the district presentation by Superintendent Campbell. Academic performance in our 8 elementary schools is widely unbalanced. Hawthorne is at 81% proficient in ELA, while Conrad, Edison, and Jackson are 21, 42, and 41%, respectively. Not a single D205 middle school is above 50% proficient in math, not one. 8th graders passing algebra fell to 38% versus 39% the previous year and 57% in 2018. York freshmen on track actually dropped in 2022. York SAT scores are at 55 and 53% for ELA and math, better than 22, yes, but not good. The 11th grade achievement gap widened. Low-income student ELA proficiency dropped from 19 to 17, while math scores held steady at an abysmal 13%. York female 11th graders, only 49% meeting standard math versus 57% for their male counterparts. What does all this mean? According to the experts, it means nearly half of this year's York senior class will graduate without meeting proficiency standards in math and ELA. It means this freshman cohort of students who are near the end of their journey of excellence are also likely to graduate without meeting proficiency. In the end, lack of preparation in D205 also shows up in the Illinois report card data, with 28% of our grads going to community college requiring remediation. Almost 10% who go on to post-secondary schools require remediation. The consequences fall on students and their parents. For having the audacity to deliver this message to our community, I've been called a racist, a misogynist, a right-winger, a failed candidate, and my all-time favorite, an education disruptor. Characterizing this as a journey of excellence is insulting and disrespectful to the parents of kids in the bottom 50% and the parents of low-income students who year after year are being failed by the district. I find it utterly dishonest that a district propaganda piece reports 92% of parents are satisfied with their child's education when Conrad is at 21% proficiency. It'd be like the Bears front office telling the season ticket holders that 92% of fans are satisfied with the team's performance this year with a 3-7 record. Curious to know which parents were carefully selected by the district marketing department to take that survey. We are now 3 years past the pandemic, and the data shows we are far from producing anything resembling excellence.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. That's all.
That's all. Thank you for taking the time to voice your concerns, support, and perspectives to the Board of Education. Common practice of the board is to follow up with public commenters after the board meeting as needed. We'll move on to item 6, approval of board meeting minutes. The approval of regular and special board minutes from October 17th, 2023. Are there any changes? Sorry, it's just the regular board meeting. I have a typo in here. Approval of regular board meeting minutes from October 17th, 2023. Are there any changes to the minutes? No changes. Meeting minutes stand as presented. And then item B, the approval of closed session minutes from October 17th, 2023. Those meeting minutes stand as presented. We'll move on to item number 7. Oh, I didn't see that one. So I'll add, sorry, approval of regular, or that was the committee of the whole, Kathy? Sorry, it was just brought to my attention. I missed the committee of the whole board meeting minutes. Can we approve the committee of the whole board meeting minutes from October 25th, 2023? Are there any changes to those minutes? Seeing none, those stand as presented. Is that everything, Kathy? Thank you. All right, item number 7, reports and presentation. Item A is the estimated tax levy, and I'll turn that over to Mr. Welton.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we are seeking board approval on the estimated 2023 tax levy. In the presentation, I will explain the tax levy components, differentiate between the levy and the extension, present the proposed levy and its impact, and share the rationale for the proposed levy. So the process for this levy started back in January of 2023 when the CPI was announced at 6.5%. But as you know, the tax cap is the lesser of 5% in CPI. So even though inflation was at 7% for calendar year 2021 and 6.5% for calendar year 2022, the tax cap limits the extension to 5%. The estimated tax levy will be considered later in tonight's agenda. On December 8th, we will publish the Truth in Taxation notice in the newspaper. We will hold the public hearing at the start of the December 19th board meeting, and then we will seek board approval on the 2023 tax levy. After board approval, we will file the tax levy at both counties on December 22nd. This needs to be done by the end of December. At the end of March 2024, DuPage County calculates the final EAV, new construction, and tax extensions. As you know, the property taxes for the 2023 tax levy are collected in calendar year 2024, the first half in June of 2024, and the second half in September of 2024. The Property Tax Extension Limitation Act is also known as the tax cap. It limits the operating extension to the lesser of CPI or 5%. As I stated, CPI for calendar year 2022 was 6.5%, so the tax cap is 5% for this levy. This chart shows that the first 10-year period of the tax cap in blue, CPI averaged 2.52%. The second 10 years in green, CPI averaged 2.49%. The most recent 11 years in purple includes the lowest CPIs. The tax cap averages 2.45%, even with the 5% caps in 2022 and 2023. This slide just shows that the 2023 tax levy is collected in June of 24 and September of 24, and therefore we equate this levy to the budget year 2024-25. So now, in determining the 2023 tax levy, what we know that the tax cap is 5%, but what we don't know are two factors: the overall EAV. But overall EAV really only impacts the tax rate. Currently, we are estimating the overall EAV to increase at 7%. The more critical unknown factor is new construction EAV. This is critical because it is exempt from the tax cap. We used a rough estimate of new construction EAV at $34 million. This is based on past new construction amounts. Residential has averaged about $27 million, and commercial industrial has averaged about $7 million. We want to make sure we understand the tax levy terminology. The levy is the Board of Education's request to the county for property taxes. The extension is what the county ends up actually putting on the tax bills. No matter what Elmhurst District 205 levies, the county will only extend the increase allowable under the tax cap. The next chart illustrates that point. The top blue line is the levy or the request. The bottom purple line is the CPI. The middle orange line is the actual extension that ends up on the tax bills. Excuse me. The reason the levy or the blue line is always higher is because new construction EAV is unknown at the time of the levy. If we knew what new construction was at the time of the levy, then we could levy right at the orange line. But since it's an unknown factor, we levy more than anticipated. In this slide, we have the 2022 extension in the left columns, the 2023 levy in the middle columns, and the estimated extension in the right columns. The 2023 tax levy in the middle columns. We know that the capped operating funds have a cap of 5%. So above the 5% is for new construction. So the levy, the operating levy, is a 6.62% request, which includes the cap of the 5%, plus the 1.62% for new construction, but will likely be more like the estimated columns on the right of 6.06%. As far as the bond and interest, we have a levy with a 3.07 increase at $15,916,813. With 1% loss in cost added on, it results in a bond and interest extension of $16,075,981. This was the scheduled amount from the referendum. Last year, 22 taxes, the original extension was $16,423,106, and then the district abated $969,348. Next year's levy for bond and interest, the extension or for next year is very similar or flat to this year at $15,967,216, and then in the 25 bond and interest drops down to $15,301,686. So overall, the 2023 levy includes $135,865,000 for the operating cap funds and $15,916,813 for bond and interest, for a total levy of $151,781,813. On a $500,000 house with no new construction, only existing property, on average, the District 205 portion of the bill would increase by 4.9% or $281.25. The operating portion makes up 89.5% of the levy and is a 5% increase, and the bond and interest portion makes up 10.5% of the levy and is 3.07%. Operating revenues. So what we are expecting from the state and federal aid moving forward for Elmhurst 205 is very flat. And this state formula basically requires any future revenue growth will have to be local funds. And Elmhurst 205 has the lowest tax rate compared to all of the comparable local unit school districts. This pie chart illustrates our current mix of revenues. Local funds are 79% from property taxes and 7% from student fees such as lunch and textbook fees and interest income. State funding includes 4% from evidence-based funding and 1% from state grants, and the federal revenues make up 4%. And here's a chart illustrating the property tax rate, which compares Elmhurst 205 to our comparable unit districts. As you can see, Elmhurst 205 is the lowest tax rate. Operating expenditures and transfers. School districts are impacted by inflation. Property taxes are imperative to cover the rising costs required to continue developing and maintaining high-quality community schools and drive student success. Aligned staffing models to support student growth and achievement provide adequate services to support the increased diverse learning needs of students. Historic labor shortages have had a significant impact on the district's ability to attract and retain staff in various positions. Health claims and medical inflation are resulting in historic premium increases of 36.8%. This labor market has resulted in substantial contract increases in purchase services such as busing, nursing, and athletic training. District 205 has aligned curricular resources utilized at the elementary, middle, and high school to maximize student success. An investment in the school buildings and intentional scope expansion utilizing the district's operating reserves. Therefore, the transfers of $7 million annually for 3 years will be from operating funds to the capital projects fund. This pie illustrates our mix of expenditures. We have about 67% of our expenditures dedicated to staffing and salaries and benefits. This percentage is normally higher, but we have a total of $19.73 million in transfers in this budget. As we always talk about, staffing is the largest portion of the budget. Before we show the projection slide, there is a new requirement that we show the cash balance reserves during the levy hearing. This slide is from our June 30th monthly financial reports, and it shows that we started the fiscal year with $63,431,945. You can see that number right here in the financial projections at the top in the middle. Due to the 3 years of transfers where we are using operating reserves to invest in our school buildings, our reserves are lowered in the 5-year projections down to about $29 million. And these projections include the amounts in the 2023 tax levy that we have before you tonight. Thank you. Is that mine? No, it's mine.
Oh, you're all waiting for me. Sorry about that. Questions and comments from the board? Jim?
What would happen if we levied less than 5%, say 3.5% or 4%?
So if we levied 4%, that would be a reduction of revenues of $1,274,303, or about $1.3 million. Reduction in revenues this year, and then every future year, but on top of that, it would be inflation on top of the 1.3 million. So that would go on in perpetuity. So it's a loss of revenues to the district compounded every single year of 1.3 million.
So I'm looking at our,
And that would have a $65 impact on a $500,000 house.
so I'm looking at our end of year actual surplus or deficit each year, going back to 2009. So from 2009 to 2022, we had a surplus in every year with the exception of one. And in that year, our surplus would have been about $2.5 million, but we abated $3.2 million back to the taxpayer that year. And in all of those years, with the exception of 3 years, that budget surplus has been in excess of $1.3 million. So we've been collecting those budget surpluses each year, and it adds up to tens of millions of dollars. And I'm just wondering if we have, 1% to throw back to our taxpayers, to not tax them.
We've done a great job as an administration, as a board, as a district, making prudent, long-term financial decisions over the past many years. That being said, we are in unprecedented economic times with where we've never had this before, where we are capped at less than inflation 2 years in a row. And as you know, and as we discussed at the Finance and Operation Committee meeting, costs are escalating at a very substantial rate, and so based on the cost escalation in just every aspect of the school district's budget, the need we're in different economic times than the past. This is 7% inflation in 2021 and 6% inflation in 2022. And in that time, inflation peaked at 9.1%. Costs have just really escalated. And so the need for the property tax revenues, when we have no other source of revenues that has any growth at all, we're not projecting growth from the state, or we're a tier 4 district with where our revenues are generally flat. Federal revenues, we can't expect any increases in federal revenues, so we really the only area we can have growth in revenues is the property taxes, and that is why we need to levy at the tax cap.
So if we levied 5% this year, but your grand total estimate is 5.7%, if we just levied an additional 5% this year, that would make the compounded rate over the past 3 years 17% increase in our share of the property tax bill. It's just, I don't know anybody, and maybe there are people out there, I just don't know them, whose income has increased by 17% over the last 3 years. And it probably took the previous 10 years before 2021 to have increased property taxes 17%. I mean, so if it took 10 years and now we're doing it in 3, I just think that that is a substantial burden on the taxpayer. And as a responsible school district, that we managed during the days of 1.5% inflation. I think we can manage to tighten our belt a little during the days of 5 and 6% inflation. And that's all I'm asking.
Kara?
I just have a couple things that, could you clarify, you said it, but I want to make sure I understand, so if you could say it again, that'd be great. If it were at 4%, it's a 1.3 million, can you just repeat that, what it is if we levied at 4%?
So when you look here at the operating extension from last year, you can see that the capped funds there line shows 127,430,309.71. So 1% of that is about 1.3 million. So that would be, a reduction of 1% would be 1.3 million, and then every year from now forward with inflation compounded on top.
And then can you also just, maybe I didn't see it on this slide, but what is the exact amount impact on a $500,000 home? At the current-
$281.25.
Okay, so that's that's a year, so that's approximately $23 a month, generally. Okay, okay. That's at the 5%, correct? Yeah, sorry.
Or just to clarify, you said it was only $65 difference to go down. So I think
1%,
that's
yes.
also an important number.
If you levy at 4%, the 281 goes down by $65, correct?
Correct.
Well, it's all estimates too, right? It depends on home value and what you've done to your house. I mean, there's a lot at stake. Yeah, go ahead. Keep going. Okay. Anybody else? Beth?
So you said that we had estimates at the end of the year and then we ended up being okay in the budget, but were we fully staffed during those times?
No, we've had vacancies in several positions, particularly education assistants. We've had a lot of vacancies in just a difficulty in attracting education assistants for our positions. Last year, we were short-staffed on custodians along with food service, and we also have trouble attracting substitute teachers.
But we're always striving to fill those positions and always will be. So we have to budget as if we're fully staffed. Correct.
That's correct. We budget for those vacancies and hoping that we can fill them.
Thank you.
Chris, question before I get to comments. The vacancies, do you know about how much of the budget goes unused due to vacancies? Like if we took last year, for example?
I think we were, I don't have a number for you, but.
I know it's a specific question.
Yeah.
I was just wondering how large, if what Jim is saying around the average having an average surplus over the course of a period of time, how much of that is due to some of the, I guess it's hard to pinpoint and micromanage it that much, but knowing how many vacancies you have, but dollars earmarked in case people are hired in those, or, you find that match, but then also other variables like contracts and things like that. Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling. I just had that clarifying question. I'll get to comments in a little bit. Anybody else want to ask questions? Okay, I do want to go to the slide that you mentioned. We now have to present our fund balance because this is an area of confusion for our community at times. So when you look here and it says beginning fund balance on July 1st of 2022, $68 million. This is based on our, June 30th, I'd say, but July 1st in this one, fund balance. And that $68 million includes a tax payment from the county in June that is dollars to be used for the following school year. So since that number by the board has been deemed inflated, it's not an actual representation of how much money we have after we pay all of our expenses in a school year. The board uses the cash flow low point method, which is the May 30th fund balance, and that's here on this slide. Thanks for flipping it. You knew where I was going. So the purple line on this slide is the cash flow low points. So the state tells us we have to, of course, in honor of being transparent about our finances, we're looking at that $68 million on July 1st being our fund balance. What we actually have in reserves, if you look at fiscal year 2022 at that time was 37 million. That's the actual amount of dollars we have in the savings account of our school after all of our bills are paid for the school year. And if you fast forward to fiscal year 2023, you'll see we stayed at 37,000, and at the end of this year, we're targeting 37 million. At the end of this year, we're targeting at 30 million, and that's due to a decision made by the board last year to expand scope on many of our referendum projects and enhance many of our facilities. And we've promised this year and next year, both years, $7 million each out of those reserves. So you're seeing that drop because we've spent 14 million of the 37 million reserve balance already in future payments. So that's why we're seeing this decline. But I wanted to clarify for the community, because people like to say, oh, we have 68, 70 million in the bank, and that is according to the July 1st, by definition of the state, how they measure fund balance. But because it includes an early payment from the county here in DuPage, our school board uses a more sophisticated date of May 30th to show a more actual or more accurate number, dollar amount that we have in the bank in a savings account. And that right now is projected to be at 30 million. And then we'll see more cash payments for 7 million moving forward. And that's why you see a drop to 19. So I just wanted to make sure we had a moment to clarify that for our community. We do hear this a lot. About the amount of dollars we have in savings, and I want to make sure we knew that it's actually not 68 million. It's closer to 37 or 30, and then 30 million by the end of this fiscal year. So tonight we're approving the notice, right? But the actual tax levy request won't be approved till our December meeting, correct?
December 19th, correct.
And so for the board, I think we need to think about what information do we need to make that decision so that we can request any further information. I'm sure Mr. Welton and team will provide us with more, but if there's something specific that you think you need to know, which, this is a complicated moment. It's one of the heaviest board decisions I think we make. I'll speak for myself as a board member, because we, of course, and I guess I'll speak for myself, but I think all of you agree, take this decision very seriously. We're all taxpayers, and we all understand the burden, especially in this high inflationary period, and we all feel what it's doing in our households and ultimately to our property tax bills. So the importance of fiscal responsibility and good stewardship and balancing that responsibility with what kids need to meet those lofty goals that we've set forth for the district is really what we're balancing here. And so I'll leave it at that, but is there any other information or comments that the board wants to? Yep, Kara?
I just wanted to more ask, as we continue on in this conversation in December and so on, that inflation is going up, costs are going up, and so I think it's important. I would like to see, I know that you're doing this, but I think it's good to highlight it, the ways in which the district is containing costs, and what are you doing to keep costs down, what adjustments are being made, because there's things to consider too, that it's not just inflation, it's ESSER money is mostly accounted for, and we will have to decide if we're going to continue to offer some of the services that we've offered students through that money, and that will just have to be absorbed by our budget. So I guess just in the next few months, as you come to us with asks, I guess, if you could highlight how you're doing cost containment. We're all doing it as, people with running a household budget, right? Like something costs more, you gotta make an adjustment. So, but I think it's good to highlight that so that we're seeing that and the community sees that as well.
Thank you. We will do that for you.
Beth?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple things. Every year, as a board, we're here having this conversation. And as we mentioned a little bit at the finance meeting, it's always a very difficult one because, as Athena said, we have to weigh the careful allocation of taxpayer dollars with the needs of the district. And we've identified those needs by developing a strategic plan that incorporates data and an abundance of feedback and input from our stakeholders. And we're using consistent measurement tools to make sure that we're checking that the work we're doing is having the impact that we have intended. So we make decisions aligned with that plan, and we allocate additional funds when necessary to help us achieve our goals and meet the expectations of our community. Our reserves, which we've talked about a lot lately, help to give us the financial flexibility to make those decisions for our organization. I say all this because I want our community to know that we are not just collecting money for the sake of collecting money, but instead we're allocating funds in a data-driven, responsible way that helps us support all of our students. We have more students with more diverse needs than ever before, and that changes every day, and we need the resources to be able to support them. It's our job to provide our students, all of our students who all fall at a different spot along the continuum, with a robust, well-rounded education and equal access to the opportunity to grow. That is what we are always thinking about when we're making decisions that impact our budget. We also have to think about the high expectations of our community that our community has for our schools, and those expectations and priorities help make our school district strong. And they guide our work to elevate academic achievement and student success. A strong school district also means high property values for all homeowners, and since high-quality schools attract people to Elmhurst to raise their families. As board members, we are also taxpayers in this community, as Athena also pointed out, and we understand that inflation impacts all of us. It's also been hard on the district, and costs are rising for pretty much everything. We have done our best to absorb those increases for our families and try not to pass them on to them, and we'll continue to do our best, I know, to find ways to do that and maximize every tax dollar. I know that's a lot, but it's just important for me that our community understands how we go about our work and how careful we are when spending taxpayer dollars and making these really hard decisions, like the one that we make regarding the tax levy, and that we don't take these things lightly. So, thank you, and I'm looking forward to some of the things that Kara was talking about, because I know that as our administration is doing their work and recommending initiatives, they're always looking at the cost, and if there's something else that we are removing when we're putting something new in place, and it's important for us to hear about that too. So thank you.
Thanks, Beth. Anybody else? Okay. Thanks, Chris and team. We'll move to item 8, which is the consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda? Seeing none. Can I have a motion for the consent agenda? Kara. Okay. Hang on. Sorry. All right. I move that the Board of Education approve items on the consent agenda. Item A, personnel report. Item B, financial reports. Item C, approve posting of 2022-2023 school report card. Item D, supplemental staffing contract, school psychologist. Item E, bid 24-03, Churchville Auditorium additions, interior renovations. Item F, bid 24-04, Hawthorne interior renovations. Item G, bid 2401, Jackson roof replacement. Item H, bid 2402, Jefferson roof replacement. And that's it.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Caforio, second by Ms. Hostler. Please call the vote.
Mrs. Caforio,
Yes.
Mrs. Hassler,
Yes.
Dr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mrs. Assif,
Yes.
and Mrs. Arvanitis.
Yes, 6 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent. Motion passes. Moving to item number 9, agenda action items, sorry. A, approve resolution regarding estimated amounts necessary to levy for year 2023. Dr. Campbell?
My colleague, Mr. Walton.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
You're getting my attention.
So 9A is the resolution regarding the estimated tax levy that I just discussed in my presentation.
Yes, and there's also a memo on board docs for anybody who wants to take a look. Can we have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the resolution regarding the estimated amounts necessary to be levied for the year 2023 and the notice of the proposed tax increase for publication in the Elmer Suburban Life.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Hostler, second by Dr. Henry. Are there any comments from the board? I feel like we just had this conversation, so we'll go to, please call the vote.
Mrs. Hassler,
Yes.
Dr. Henry,
Yes.
Mrs. Assif,
Yes.
Mrs. Caforio,
Yes.
and Mr. Collins,
No.
and Mrs. Arvanitis.
Yes, 5 ayes, 1 nay, 1 absent. Motion passes. B, approve 2024-25 course proposals. Dr. Campbell?
Ms. Leishel?
Sure, thank you. We presented on this at October's regularly scheduled Board of Education meeting, but requesting approval for 2 new courses are 6 through 8 Heritage Spanish, which will be offered to incoming 6th graders who speak Spanish at home and pass a placement exam or participated in the dual language program in 5th grade. And also Algebra 2 applications, which will be the instructional math course to students in that 3-year course sequence of Algebra, Geometry, Algebra 2, as an alternative to the general education Algebra 2 with trigonometry.
Great, can we have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the 2 new courses for 2024-2025 titled as follows: 6 through 8 Heritage Spanish and Algebra 2 applications.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Assif, second by Ms. Caforio. Are there any comments from the board? I'll just say one, we did the York tour and saw a lot of the math curriculum and just wanted to talk or just highlight a little bit about, I know it's just some, a new course with the Algebra 2 applications, and how nice it was to hear from Principal Hurt, how this helps kids and supports or creates a learning environment where kids who need a different level of rigor, a different level of pace can have that in this course. And so to see how this class fits into the sequence was really nice, so I appreciate that. Can we have a motion? Oh, we already had a motion. Can we please call the vote? I'm tired today. I must need more sleep.
Mrs. Assif,
Yes.
Mrs. Caforio,
Yes.
Mrs. Hassler,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Dr. Henry,
Yes.
and Mrs. Arvanitis.
Yes, 6 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent. Motion passes. Approve city school bus, item number C, letter C, approve activity school bus bids. Dr. Campbell.
Yes, my colleague, Mr. Schmidt, will take this.
Good evening. Tonight, we're looking for the board to approve through 3 activity buses. A little history on activity buses. We have 9 activity buses, usually put 2 at each middle school, 3 at York High School. Currently, one of our buses, 2001, is out of service due to safety inspections with the state. We were looking at replacing an activity bus a year. Last year, there was basically no inventory, so we were unable to replace that. So the plan was in this fiscal year to buy 2 activity buses, and then also with this bid, hold the bid pricing and buy another one for next fiscal year. Currently before you, we can get these buses here this spring. and then get another one as soon as we need it later in the spring for next fiscal year. Being down the activity buses right now, we have to sit there and charter buses for all these activity and all the sports, extracurricular, and all the other things that the buildings do use them. We have to move them around and juggle them quite often. Being down one, sometimes our buses have to go into the shop for maintenance, and that puts us down additional buses. So these are things that we feel that we need right now, even though with this bid is a little bit more money than some of the other lower bids, but we can get these buses here in the spring instead of waiting potentially till the fall of '24. So there's a recommendation for 3 activity buses, 2 in this fiscal year and 1 out of next fiscal year.
Thank you. Can we have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the purchase of 3 2024 Chevrolet Cutaway School Activity Buses from Midwest Transit Equipment in the amount of $323,829.
Second.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Motion by Dr. Henry, second by Ms. Hassef. Are there any comments from the board? Ms. Caforio.
Yeah, I just, I think this is a great highlight of, these buses are old, 2001, 2006, 2001. So we have gotten our good out of them. And I appreciate that you've tried to keep them running as long as possible. And I also think that it's important that, we have good vehicles on the road when we have students in them. So, but I just think it's a great example of using something till it absolutely won't work. And so it's good. All right. We got good use out of it. So that's it.
Any other comments? Okay, can we call the vote?
Dr. Henry,
Yes.
Mrs. Assef,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mrs. Caforio,
Yes.
Mrs. Hassler,
Yes.
and Mrs. Arvanitis.
Yes, 6 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent. Motion passes. Item D is the approval of approved proposed 2024-25 and 25-26 school calendars.
My colleague, Dr. Schumacher, is going to take this one.
Administration recommends the board approve the work of the calendar committee consisting of proposed school calendars for the 2024-25 and 2025-26 school years.
Can we have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the 2024, 2025, and 2025, 2026 district calendars as presented.
I'll second. Motion by Ms. Assef, second by Mrs. Hassler. Are there any comments from the board? Seeing none, can we please call the vote?
Mrs. Assef,
Yes.
Mrs. Hassler,
Yes.
Dr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mrs. Caforio,
Yes.
and Mrs. Arvanitis.
Yes, 6 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent. Motion passes. Item E is the approval of the maintenance grant.
Yes, before you tonight is the Illinois School Maintenance Project Grant, which is a dollar-for-dollar matching grant up to $50,000 used exclusively for repairs and upkeep of educational facilities. This year, we're looking at applying for this grant and using it to offset the cost to replace one of the many boilers out at York High School.
Great, can we have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education certifies the Illinois State Board of Education School Maintenance Grant for capital projects for fiscal year 2024.
I'll second.
Motion by Mrs. Hassler, second by Ms. Caforio. Are there any comments from the board? Nope. Please call the vote.
Mrs. Hassler,
Yes.
Mrs. Caforio,
Yes.
Mrs. Assef,
Yes.
Dr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
and Mrs. Arvanitis.
Yes, 6 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent. Motion passes. Item F, approval of memorandum of understanding with the PSRP union.
Administration recommends the board approve the memo of understanding between Elmhurst 205 and our PSRP employee group. This MOU increases hourly wages for current and prospective members by $1 an hour effective January 1, 2024. The updated rates in the compensation information table outlined in the collective bargaining agreement would also apply for next school year.
Great, can we have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the memorandum of understanding with the PSRP union, providing for hourly rate increase of $1 substantially in the form recommended by the superintendent, and to authorize the president and secretary to sign the MOU after signature by the PSRP.
A second.
Motion by Dr. Henry, second by Mrs. Hostler. Are there any comments from the board? Kara?
Just thank you to the administration for doing the work on this and, coming to, doing the research to help us do good things for our employees. So thank you.
Anybody else? Nope. Thank you from all of us. Can we please call the vote?
Dr. Henry,
Yes.
Mrs. Hassler,
Yes.
Mrs. Caforio,
Yes.
Mrs. Assif,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
and Mrs. Arvanitis.
Yes, 6 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent. Motion passes. Yay. I know. Perfect, right?
Perfect timing.
Perfect
You have
timing.
to sit just a few more minutes because we also have a video at the end.
Okay, we are moving on to number 10, superintendent communication. First, we'll go with highlights of summative state assessments. Dr. Campbell?
So we had the privilege and the opportunity to connect with our community members as we gathered for the State of the District address, which was held on November 1st. First and foremost, want to thank our community for participating in that, as well as all of our board members for being present, as well as our principals and staff members that were there. There is so much to celebrate in District 205, and I was proud to share the many accomplishments of our students and staff from the past year. As mentioned many times over the last month, we have made significant progress in elevating student achievement, and there is certainly a lot to celebrate. Concurrently, please hear me, I recognize that there is still work to be done, but I could not be more confident in the team, with the support of the Board of Education, to continue along our journey of elevating student growth and achievement. I'm excited to continue this great work along with our administration, building leaders, and staff in partnership with our entire school community. Anyone that was unable to attend can still watch by visiting our district YouTube page at Elmhurst D205 or by visiting the Community Connections page on our website. The committee of the whole presentation is also available for public consumption on Board Docs, which provides a deeper look into the state report card data. It is with great enthusiasm that we share once again that final designations and the announcement that all schools in District 205 have received the top 2 designations of exemplary or commendable. All of the work that our team has done and continues to do in partnership with our Board of Education, community partners, and families is why I can confidently say, as stated previously and once again today, that our district is in a strong standing and getting stronger each and every year. So once again, thank you to our entire school community.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. B, FOIA requests.
2 FOIA requests for Smart Pass information was granted. 1 FOIA request for District 205 contractor information was granted. 1 FOIA request for certified staff retirement notices granted. 1 FOIA request for employee benefit and property casualty insurance granted. And 1 FOIA request for first student contract granted.
Great. Now communications and highlights.
Now communications and highlights. So we have 2 videos that we want to share, and so I'm going to pass it over to Ms. Tanya Daniels, Executive Director of Communications and Community Relations.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. So we do have 2 videos to share with you this evening. We have a lot of great celebrations in November, and 2 of those include the PSRPs as well as our board members. And so we do have some social media posts that will be going out in honor of those, but we wanted to share with you tonight the videos for both of those celebrations.
Wednesday, November 15th is School Board Appreciation Day. Our school community is extremely grateful to our school board for the countless hours they spend serving the Elmhurst School District community. Our school board dedicates countless hours and works tirelessly to ensure that our students and staff have everything they need to grow and achieve. School board members play a crucial role in our schools. They promote student learning and achievement by creating a vision, establishing policies and budgets, setting clear standards, and ensuring accountability. These 7 members strive for excellence in everything that they do. They know they can't please everyone, but in every decision they make, their number 1 commitment has been to our students. It has been said that it is a thankless job, but today I want to express my deep gratitude and thanks to them. Thank you for leading and guiding our district to fulfill our vision of all students graduating ready for college, career, and life. Thank you for all that you are and for all that you do for our amazing school district and community.
Thank you. So nice. I love celebrating. Finally, item 11 is board communications, and we have an item A that Beth is going to help us through. It's the IASB 2023 Resolutions Committee Report, and Beth is our IASB representative. Turn over to Beth.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the resolutions process. Resolutions are submitted by IASB member school districts in June for review. And basically, there are things that school boards would like to see IASB advocate for. So when these resolutions are adopted, it doesn't mean that law is going to go into effect or any action will be taken at that time, but it does really drive the advocacy efforts of the IASB team. So this year, there are just 5 resolutions that are being proposed and going to go forward to the delegate assembly that is at the joint annual conference on November, I think the voting happens on November 18th. And I will be there to vote on behalf of our board. I'm just going to say a little bit about these briefly. If any board members would like more information about them, please feel free to ask. I'm happy to get any more information or details about any of them. And I'll consider all of your input when I go there to vote. So one is about industrial construction, and this is about building industrial companies near school districts. And what they're asking that this not be done, that this building not take place near school districts. IASB recommended not to adopt this one because they felt like there were districts who relied on income from some of these facilities, and that it really only affected a couple school districts, and that in some areas there just isn't enough space for them to build elsewhere. The second one was about school resource officer funding, and this was asking that the state help schools fund school resource officers for their buildings, and they recommended to adopt this one to help. Of course, the safety and security of students is always of the utmost importance, and so they recommended to adopt this. The next one was about bus driver regulations, and this really is about testing and training and making it easier for bus drivers to become certified. And there's a huge shortage of bus drivers, and it's been hard on districts. And so they think this will help more bus drivers become certified, and therefore districts to hire them. And then this also asks for funding to be given 100% of reimbursement from the state for transportation funds. And this one they recommended to adopt. And the reason for that, Chris, since it looks like you're interested in that, was because there are some districts that spend a lot of money on transportation because they're larger, more spread out, and there's some districts that don't have to spend any money on transportation. So that was the reason behind that. This would help out the districts that do. And then the employment history review was about background reviews for employees, and that this should go through, let me just refer to my notes on this one because it's a little more specific, should go through the Department of Child and Family Services tracking system in order to fulfill the employment history review requirement of Faith's Law. And this one, they said they recommended not adopting this because they just didn't feel like that was the appropriate system to use. And then the last one was alternative safe school funding. This also was do not adopt because this is already a part of another position statement and is already advocated for by IASB. So it was just a duplicate. So again, I will be going down that Saturday. I'll be down there for the conference, and I will be voting on our behalf. And if anybody has any other questions, they can reach out to me. So thank you for letting me talk a little bit about that.
Well, and thanks for doing the work. It's meetings and little research, reading, and understanding. So thanks for representing us in this capacity, Beth.
Of course, happy to.
Any other board member reports or communication items? I think we've said it all so far. Great. So upcoming meetings, we have a policy committee meeting scheduled for December 6th at 5:30 and a regular Board of Education meeting taking place on December 19th and January 16th, both at 7 p.m. All meetings are held here at D205 Center in room 215 and 216. And with that, at 8:26, this meeting is adjourned.